Welcome to another DCS tutorial, and today we're going to be looking at randomisation. Now, randomisation is something that's really important to making missions interesting if you want to play them more than once. Now, you might have seen several other tutorials on how to do this, but I found that many of them don't really seem to understand how the mission editor works and seem to get it wrong. So, let's get out of the sea and jump into the editor and take a look. Okay, here we are in the editor, and as you can see, we have created 4 different groups. Each one is set to be deactivated at mission start. What we want to achieve is for any one of those groups to be randomly activated. Here are some triggers which I've set up showing how many other tutorials will try to achieve this, and I want to show why this doesn't work as intended. Triggers are checked every second, and here the random condition is essentially a percentage chance, in this case 10%. So if you shake a 10-sided die and get a 1, it's true, or else it's false. If it's true, it will then activate the group, but only if flag 1 is false, which at mission start it will be. If the group is activated, then it sets flag 1 to true, and so you'd think that no other units can then be activated. But there is a problem. All of the triggers are checked in the same phase, so potentially 2, 3, or even all 4 groups could be activated at the same time before flag 1 is set. If you make that random number lower, say to a 1, then you reduce that chance of happening. But then you could easily be waiting 60 seconds or more for any unit to activate and still have a slim chance of multiple units appearing. And the more units you have to choose from, the more likely that is. Instead, what we can do is set a trigger at mission start to randomly select a value for a flag. Here we have set flag 1 to have a random value between 1 and 4. So this is genuinely random and there is no chance of other units appearing when we don't want them. Then we just set up 4 triggers like this one. So if flag 1 equals 1, then group 1 activates, and so on. But what if we want more than just one group? Let's say that you want a random number of groups randomly selecting. Now, I haven't managed to find an easy way to do that properly without creating lots of validation triggers. However, we can mash those previous 2 ideas together to find a solution which should work for most people. Let's imagine that you want 2, 3, or 4 units selecting at random. Here we have a trigger which is selecting a random value for flag 1 between 2 and 4. We can then create one trigger for each group, which if activated increases the value of flag 1 by 1, and set the condition such that the trigger is only activated if flag 1 is less than what was randomly selected earlier. This does work, but has the same issue as I initially pointed out, in that there is a possibility of occasionally getting more than you wanted. However, as you're already selecting a random number, it's probably less of an issue. There is another potential problem with this, and that is that when activated, each unit will start to move. And that might be anything from 1 second to potentially over a minute before the other units are activated, which is of no use if the units should be moving in some sort of formation. You can fix this by setting each unit with an action to hold and a stop condition for that hold. you can set that stop condition to a mission time, which might work if you don't need any of them to move until several minutes in, or you can set it to a flag. And for that, you will need to create one more trigger. And that is that when flag 2 equals the same as was randomly selected for flag 1, then activate flag 3. And flag 3 is what we apply to each group. This way, all the groups will start moving at the same time. Finally, we'll use the random condition at mission start. Here we have our 4 triggers, and each one will fire just the once right at the start of the mission. In the first group, I've set it with a 40% chance. The second group I've set with a 70% chance. The third group a 10% chance, and the fourth group a 40% chance. So you can see that potentially none of the groups will activate at all, or possibly all 4 might activate. That's all I'm going to cover for now, so thank you for watching, and if you learned anything then please do hit like and subscribe. Until then, I'm going to show that a Thunderbolt doesn't have much chance against a Harrier if you fly the Harrier well.
Landing gear, landing gear. Pull up, pull up. Pull up, pull up. Altitude, 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 altitude. Landing gear, landing gear. Landing gear, landing gear. Landing gear, landing gear. landing gear, 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 landing, landing gear, landing gear, landing gear, landing gear, landing gear, landing gear, landing gear.